Welcome to part 4 of Colonial Society. Now we're going to talk about the Great Awakening. Now, not all religious movements in colonial society was just little localized fits of hysteria like the Salem witch trials, right? Matter of fact, there was a religious movement that took place in colonial America that's going to fundamentally change a lot of the regions, right? Evangelicalism. Evangelicalism differed from Puritanism in that it was a religious movement that consisted of the emotional experience of faith, and so it was a matter of the heart, not the head. Puritanism was very cerebral. It was very much about study, whereas evangelical is very much about the feeling of salvation. The evangelical movement in the Americas led to what we now call the Great Awakening or the First Great Awakening, right? Its main years are 1739 to 1745. In which the evangelical movement touched on all 13 colonies. And that's really an important point here that we need to get out of this, is that this is going to be the first shared experience across all the colonies. Remember, you have all these colonies formed at different times and for different reasons, and there's a lot of reasons for them not to get along. So you need to have some commonality to get you to ultimately later on to bind together, right? Because we're going to have to fight a revolution against England at some point. We don't know this yet, right? But this is going to be that first shared experience that later they can all reflect back on and say, yeah, we have actually experienced things together before. Now, evangelicalism and the Great Awakenings has origins from multiple diverse sources out of the 18th century. For example, it comes out of European pietism that was brought over by German Lutherans and other German religious groups that had immigrated to the English colonies. And then at the same time, beginning in England and then coming to the colonies, you had the English Methodist movement. One of the founders of Methodism we'll talk about later, George Whitefield. And then just some of the pietist elements already existing in New England, Puritanism, right? You have a lot of people saying that maybe Puritanism isn't that model Christian society. I mean, remember, we have these breakaway colonies to serve as evidence of that. So this movement spread across the colonies by a series of religious revivals that were led by very impassioned ministers, right? Now, in this lecture series, we're only going to talk about two of them, the two most prominent, Jonathan Edwards and George Whitefield, right? But you kind of get a feel from both of these, just the absolute power of their rhetoric and just the overall effect that it would have on the people that would hear these sermons.